Welcome back to the update on the Open. I'm Marty Say, and I'm joined now by Tony Budding, who oversees media for CrossFit, sometimes with benevolence, sometimes with an iron fist, but always with a sense of style. This was very ambitious, the launch. Nobody disagrees with that. Let's talk about the launch. What happened at the launch with the website?
Let's think about the whole project, okay? 2010 games, we found out late in the game that we were not going to be able to hold it at Aromas like we had the previous 3 years. What are we going to do? We ended up exploring a whole bunch of options, found ourselves at the Home Depot Center 2010. Again, a huge shift for the CrossFit culture, going from Aromas, the Woodstock of fitness, to the Home Depot Center. LA, big city, lots of concrete. How's that going to go? Well, of course, what happened is we turned it into a CrossFit venue, and CrossFitters showed up, and it was an amazing event. That launched a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for the sport worldwide. We found ourselves approached by Reebok. We have a 10-year title sponsorship with them. The world is exploding. The number of people interested in competing is growing. And that leaves us with this enormous question, Marty. How do we account for, how do we allow as many people as want to come into the Open, to come into the sectionals, because that's how we were thinking about it at that point, and still participate?
So that's the genesis of the idea of creating the Open, creating a hub and building a hub so that the rest of the world can compete.
Right. If last year we had 33 sectionals, if we were going to, this year, were we going to need 60, 90? We have 25,000 participants in the Open. That would have required 250 sectionals. There's no way we could have pulled that off logistically. So we ended up with an online competition that gave us the opportunity to invite the entire world, anybody who wants, to participate. How? Well, the website has to be the hub.
So let's talk about the launch of the website. Obviously, we're talking about compressing time. The needs were going to be great, but you knew that going into. So take us to the days leading up to the launch, and let's talk about that launch.
So the website has to have three main components. It has to have a database that allows all the scores to come in and all the rankings to be calculated. It has a media server component where we have tons of articles from all different 17 regions, videos, all need to be fed out, need to be searchable, findable. And we have to have a secure element. The credit cards and the logins have to be secure. There's no off-the-shelf software that does all three things together. So we had to build that, we had to construct it, we had to jerry-rig that all together in 4 short months. That's really not a lot of time.
Okay, so time was compressed with the launch of the actual website. Expectations are high. That's a hallmark of CrossFit, the CrossFit Games, CrossFit athletes, CrossFit affiliates. So what about the bugs when you were first launching the site? That's the question a lot of people want answered.
Yes. Well, let's go back. The actual launch of the site was not the competition, but the registration process. And we brought in, I can't remember exactly what the numbers, but 15,000 people in the first week. 15,000 people successfully registered. I don't know if you remember last year when we launched, we shut down the website. We shut down all of the ability to register because 6,000 people tried to register simultaneously. Well, this time we built in plenty of capacity, so we were able to handle all of the interest as it came. When we went for the actual launch of the workout, that's when we found bugs in the leaderboard and found bugs in the system, and we couldn't hit our target time. It's a very frustrating experience for a lot of people. We wanted to deliver right on time, just wasn't going to happen, and we weren't going to launch with a site that didn't work.
So what has happened since then? Obviously, you've been working around the clock. It looks like the site is up and running. A lot of new articles, a lot of good stuff going up, but still you do hear complaints. You see some complaints that people aren't able to get their scores, that scores aren't being tabulated. What's happening?
Well, first of all, most of the scores are being tabulated. Most of the people who are trying to register are. We've had over 30,000 results successfully submitted. 30,000 workouts. It's unprecedented. We don't have anywhere else in the world that kind of competition is happening online. There's also been...
Well, let me ask you this. 30,000, that's impressive. That's a very big number. If I'm one of the 250 people in the world, who wants to get their score up there because it's pretty close to Rich Froning. Who knows? I mean, that's
Well,
an
for you it
extreme
would
example.
be, and Rich
Yes, that's
did
true.
call me and he said, "What? Don't tell Marty what I'm doing because I'm nervous." I mean, that guy's got what it takes.
Well, that's true. That's true. I've got the sore shoulder and stuff, so he can relax. But very serious for a lot of athletes out there who've been training and ready for it. And maybe there's a contender, maybe there isn't, but it is still a pain in the butt for them.
Yes,
What do
it
they
is.
do?
It is a pain in the butt, and actually I'll say it's a pain in the ass because we are in America here. Marty, speak American. But let's put that in context. For every 1% of the athletes that have a problem, we have 250 emails, 250 complaints. Okay, that's 1%. That means 99% of the people who are trying to be successful are. Now, again, if you are one of the 250, it's an extremely frustrating process. But I will say this. If you did the workout during the time that the workout was supposed to be done, and you performed it as prescribed, and you performed it under the rules and regulations of the workout, we will make sure that you get credit for that. The technical challenges that we're having are not going to get into the way of the real world competition that we're having.
Okay, so what should people actually be worried about now? Obviously, you're working on the website. Some of the bugs are being fixed. Again, there's still complaints out there. How is the website evolving?
Keep digging that in, huh? Keep throwing that in.
How is the website evolving?
Oh, the website's evolving tremendously. Almost all of the major flaws that we had at launch have been fixed. There's still a few things going on. The team aggregation is actually immensely complex. And for the computer to be able to select the 3 best men, the 3 best women for official teams, or the top 6 athletes for unofficial teams, knowing the difference, calculating those scores in real time. There's a lot going on there. We've fixed almost all of that. Now, if you have not been able to register and you were trying, we need to know, right? Please let us know.
How did somebody let you know?
Games@crossfit.com. Email games@crossfit.com.
There have been some concerns about the tabulation of the team numbers. Is that
Yes.
something people should be worried about as well?
No, that's not something they should be worried about. We are paying very close attention to that. It's not right. As of right now, it is not where we want it to be. But here's the thing. All of the scores, all the team, all the individual athletes, those numbers are in the database and they're where they should be. We're working on the querying of the database and the codes and the logic behind that. It will get corrected. What we do need to emphasize is your scores need to be in. If you tried to get your score in and it didn't get in, we need to know. So there's 2 things that you should be worried about. If you didn't register and you tried, let us know. And if you didn't get your score in, your result in, we need to know. All of the leaderboards, all of the team calculations, all of that we are still working on. It is getting fixed. It's much better today than it was a week ago. It'll be much better in a week than it is today. That I promise you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
One last question before we go. Did you do the first WOD?
I did.
How'd you
Twice.
do?
Twice.
How'd you
I
do?
did 40 reps better on the second attempt than I did on the first one.
All right, so you broke 100. Tony Budding, all right.